Okay, welcome back, folks. Professor Almeida here to walk you through Packet Tracer 291. Now, in this lab activity, you are taking everything you learned in Module 2 about Cisco IOS and doing basic switch configuration, and you are applying it to a small LAN where you'll see that we have 2 Cisco switches and a PC connected to each. Okay, so all that coming up. If you need to hit the pause button, it's there. All right. Let's go ahead and get started here. So as you can see, I have my Windows 10 virtual machine open. I'm a Linux user, and if you're a Linux user like me, make sure you can get your hands on a Windows PC or a Windows VM like this to avoid any potential issues with Packet Tracer and Linux. If you're running Mac OS, I don't know what to tell you. Feel free to reach out to me and let me know how it goes. But anyway, here we are. In Windows, I have our Cisco Networking Academy course open. To get to Packet Tracer 291, launch the ITN curriculum under the course content module, and here's 291. Here's the scenario. As a recently hired LAN tech, you have been asked by your network manager to demonstrate your ability to configure a small LAN. By the way, if you are going for job interviews involving Cisco equipment, or let's say you're pursuing your CCNA and you get your CCNA and you're applying for jobs, or you're going somewhere where you're using Cisco, don't be surprised if you're asked to show what you know. Okay, I've had some students come back and tell me that happened to them, right? They took classes from me and then they went to a job interview and they were asked to show what they knew. Okay, so be prepared for that possibility. Anyway, your tasks include configuring initial settings on 2 switches by using the Cisco IOS and configuring IP address parameters on host devices to provide end-to-end connectivity. You are to use 2 switches and 2 hosts on a cabled and powered network. I'm going to skip past the instructions and download the Packet Tracer file directly. And the reason for this is because for this particular lab and for other Packet Tracer labs out there, the addressing table, the device names, and the passwords might change. So in other words, don't just blindly copy what you see me doing or blindly copy what you might find elsewhere, okay? Because the situation might be different for you. You might be dealing with a different addressing scheme, different passwords, different device names, and so forth. But how you configure the switches, it's going to be the same. Okay, so I hope that makes some sense. All right, so now that we've downloaded our Packet Tracer 291, I'm going to minimize the browser window. Before you get started with 291, go into Packet Tracer, make sure that you're logged into Netacad and you stay logged in. There's a little checkbox when you log into Netacad to stay logged in. All right, let's launch 291. And again, if you need that pause button, it's there. All right, here we go. So you can see we have 2 switches, ASW1, ASW2, user 1 and user 2, but you never know, it might change. We need to do a little management here first, starting with the user profile. Put your name, that's all you need. Click OK, and then click yes to reset the activity. And now we have room 145, room 146, manager, and reception. So again, don't just blindly copy whatever you see because your situation might be a bit different. Okay, so here's the addressing table, and you'll notice that the requirements just give you a bulleted list. They don't tell you how to do each thing, right? You're expected to know this. All right, so what do we have here? We have 2 Cisco switches, right? They're connected together with a crossover cable. And then the PCs, the manager PC is connected to the room 145 switch with a straight through, likewise with reception in 146. Okay. Before we get into the switches, we have to first establish a console connection from the PC to the switch. Okay, so we're connecting to the console ports, right? And you know what? We might as well do the same thing over here with reception, right? Console port of 146. If you've ever had a chance to go into the AA201B classroom, you'll see the Cisco routers that are there. It's the equivalent of, you know, connecting from one of the lab PCs to the console port on the Cisco router. That's what we just did here in Packet Tracer with the manager and reception PC and the room switches, right? It's the same idea. And then you just remote in from the PC. Okay. Speaking of remoting into the PC, right? That's what's coming next, right? We need to start configuring the switches. So I'm going to click on the manager PC. We'll put this over here. And you know what? Let's do the same thing. We'll click on the reception PC and we need to move our windows around. And don't be surprised if you're having to do this, right? Okay, so start with the manager PC, click on the desktop tab, go to terminal. Over here, desktop tab, terminal, click OK, and there's iOS. All right, and we'll hit enter for both, and we're at the command prompt. Okay, now bring back our list of requirements. Let's name the switches, and here we have to keep track, right? Because the manager PC is connected to room 145, and the reception PC is connected to room 146. So let's get into iOS. First things first, we need to enable to get into privilege exec mode, and then configure terminal. You can also use configure. Terminal is by default, or we'll shorthand it, config terminal. That works too, right? Enable config terminal. All right, let's go ahead and name the switches. So starting with the manager PC, it's connected to room, and let's double check, room-145. Okay, make sure we get this right. Room-145, and then over here, host name, room-146. Okay, you'll notice the completion rate is up to 2%, and now we know which switch we're dealing with here. Next up, use this password for all lines. Okay, I'm going to carefully copy, Control-C. And here's what they mean by using this password for all lines. If you go to check results and under assessment items, you'll see that you need to set up a console line password. But if you scroll down, you'll also need to secure all Vty lines. Okay, let me show you how this works here. Okay, so we'll bring back our two terminal windows here. All right, so I need to go into line configuration mode, right? Line console 0. And we'll secure this with a password. So we type in password and then paste the password they gave us. Then we type login, and this allows us to check to make sure that the right password is being entered, and then we exit out of line configuration mode. Okay, so line console 0. Right, password, paste the password they gave us. Again, you could type it in too, but you know, there's different ways you could do this, right? Login, exit. Okay, now we have to secure all Vty lines. And for a switch, there are 16 Vty lines, and the command for that is line Vty 015. Okay, let me show you here. All right, so now we got to secure all the Vty lines, line Vty 0 to 15, and we put the same password requirement, right? Login, exit. Okay, same thing over here. Secure the Vty lines, line Vty 0 to 15, password, okay, login, exit. Okay. So the Vty lines are secured, and if you want to convince yourself, again, bring back the instructions, look at your completion rate, check results, go to assessment items. You should have a check mark. Okay, there's line console password. That's been checked off, and then same thing, we secured all Vty lines. Okay, moving right along. What's our next requirement? We need to use a secret password. Again, I'm going to copy the secret password. Control-C, bring back our two terminal windows here. All right, so we're in config mode, enable secret, and then paste that password. Okay, same thing over here. Again, you don't have to do both switches at the same time. I'm just doing it for sake of time here. Okay, we're at 11% completion. Encrypt all clear text passwords. Okay, so let's go ahead and issue service password encryption. So as you can see here, if you're given a list of requirements, you have to know what commands to enter. Okay, so in other words, if you're asked to encrypt all clear text passwords, that pretty much means using service password encryption, right? Okay, 13% complete. Configure an appropriate message of the day banner. Okay, I'm gonna just use banner MOTD pound authorized use only exclamation point and then close with a pound. All right, 15%. Let me go to the reception window here. Banner MOTD authorized use only, just like that. And at this point, we need to configure addressing for all devices according to the addressing table. So we come back up, we look at our table here. And for room 145, the IP address is 172.16.5.35. And then room 146 is .40. All right, so here's how we do it. Interface VLAN 1. Notice that we've changed modes. So another thing too, pay attention to where you are. Okay, don't just blindly enter in commands or use some kind of cheat sheet without looking to see where you are here. Okay. All right. IP address for room 145 is 172.16.5.35. And then the subnet mask 255.255.255.0. No shutdown. You could do no shut. That works perfectly fine too. Okay. So at this point, the switch is now configured. It's ready to go, but we still have to write the configuration. We'll come back to that in a second. Okay, over here, interface VLAN 1, IP address 172.16.5.40, 255.255.255.0. No shut. Okay, 60% complete. Now we need to make sure that we save the config. Okay, you can use copy running config, startup config. You can also just type in WR, but you have to do it from privilege exec mode. So we need to exit twice, right? We're still in config. Exit again, we're in privilege exec mode. I'm going to use WR. That works perfectly fine. Okay, you could also do copy running config, startup config. So remember, exit twice. Okay, I'm just using WR, folks. All right, 64%. Let's check results. Make sure we're done with the switches before closing out. Okay, you can see everything has been checked off, and now we just got to work with the PCs. So from here, right, from here, we'll just exit. Okay, that's done. And then exit, that's done. So now when you try to get back in, you can see there's the banner, and you're going to be asked for your password. Okay, so we'll close out the terminal, and now we got to configure the PCs. Right, we got to set up the addressing. So we'll go to IP configuration for both, and we need to look at the addressing table again, and we'll see for the PCs. It's 172.16.5.50 for manager, .60 for reception, same subnet mask. Okay, this is basically plug and chug right here, folks. All right, so take a look again. 172.16.5.50, 172.16.5.50. Be careful here because they already provide you the subnet mask, but you want to make sure it's the right subnet mask. Okay, 82%. We're done here. I'm going to leave this open for a moment. Okay, let's go to reception, and it's 172.16.5.60, and then the subnet mask, again, make that change. All right, and at this point, we're at 100% completion, but one of the things they want us to do is to actually test out the connectivity. Okay, so I'm going to connect from manager to reception. I'm going to see if I can ping the reception PC 172.16.5.60. Ping test works. Okay, and at this point, we can go ahead and take the screenshot. We're done with this packet tracer activity. So let me launch my Word document. And this is packet tracer 291. And put your name here. Okay, so for me, it's Professor Almeida. But put your name there. And let's go ahead and take our screenshot. You can see I've pinned the Snip and Sketch app. And we need to set this up before we take the screenshot. One other thing too, folks, go into the assignment and check to see if there are any additional screenshots. This one, you just need to give me the completion rate. So that's all there is, just this. All right, new window snip. Click on the floating window here showing 100% completion. And now you're going to take this, copy it, and paste into your Word document, save it, and then turn it in. By the way, if this doesn't work, if the copy and paste doesn't work, okay, you can save the screenshot and then in Word, go to the Insert tab, Illustrations group, Pictures, insert picture from this device, and then go to where you saved the screenshot and you can paste it in that way. All right, folks, that is it for Packet Tracer 291. Again, once you get a hang of the Cisco iOS commands, you should be able to do this in a few minutes. All right, good luck, folks. Take care. Let me know if you have questions, and I'll see you in the next one.